Gauranga. Okay. Let's just check. Where's that phone? Second. Oh, Gauranga. All right, we are online and ready to start the class. All right, let us grab the guitar. We'll chant the prayers to the Lord Nrsingadev today to protect everybody. Namaste Nadashingaya Valadala Jayune Iranyakashi Purvachaka Jilataka Kalaye Itona Singa Baratona Singa Itoya Toya Mitatona Singa Bahina Singa Singamadev Caritamrta Joy. Namaste Nadashingaya Valadala Jayude Iranyakashi Purvachaka Jilatam Ganika Laye Itona Singa Adatona Singo Itona Singa Bakina Singo Irayena Singo Singamadim Namrapadaye Kavakara Kamalaba Prayna Kama Buddha Singa Dadita Iranya Kasibuda Bringa Visavadrita Nadani Rupa Jaya Ganesh Jaya Ganesh Jaya Kamalaba Baina Kama to sing Nrsingadev, 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 Nrsingadev. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Prabhupada. Haribo, oh, Haribo, oh, Jai Gaur. Jai Om Vishnupad Paramahamsa Acharya Osata Satashi Shrimad Divine Grace Abhaya Charananda Bhaktivedanta Goswami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai, ISKCON Founder Acharya Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai, Anantakoti Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Jai, Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai. Prem Se Kaho Shri Krishna Caitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shidwaita Gadadha Shivasati Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai. Shri Shri Radhakrishna Gopakapanath Sai Mukunda Radhakunda Giri Govardhan Ki Jai. Vrindavanam Ki Jai, Mathuradam Ki Jai, Jagatha Sami Ki Jai, Yamunamai Ki Jai, Shrimati Lasi Devi Ki Jai, Samaveda Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai, Gaur Premananda Hari Hari Bom. All glory is the assembled devotees. All glory is the assembled devotees. All glory is the assembled devotees. All glory is to Shri Guru and Gauranga Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Gaur Premananda Nama Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Pristaya Bhutale Shrimati Bhakti Vedanta Swaminiti Namane Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pachari Nivashesha Shunyabadi Paschachade Shatarni. So Om Magana Timidanda Shah Gananjana Shalakaya Chakshur Meditam Yena Tasmai Shikadave Namaha. So I offer my respectful obeisances unto the lotus feet of my spiritual master, His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada, who so kindly opened my eyes with the torchlight of knowledge while I was blinded in the darkness of ignorance. So we're continuing with our study of the Sri Caitanya Caritamrta, chapter 15 in the Madhya Lila. We just started that chapter yesterday, and we are reading about Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's interactions with his various devotees, Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya and other devotees in Jagannath Puri. So this is a very personal chapter for Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, in that you get to see a lot of his interactions and his compassion with the devotees. So let us go on to the Caitanya Caritamrta. Jaya Jaya Sri Caitanya Jaya Nityananda Jaya Dvaita Chandra Jaya Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Jaya Jaya Sri Caitanya Jaya Nityananda Jaya Dvaita Chandra Jaya Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Jaya Jaya Sri Caitanya Jaya Nityananda Jaya Dvaita Chandra Jaya Gaur Bhakta Vrinda. So we're reading about Nandotsava. We actually talked about this yesterday. Nandotsava is the festival of Lord Krishna's appearance, and it occurs the day after Janmashtami. So traditionally, I mentioned last night, that is the actual day of celebration. And the day before is celebration too, because you're expecting the Lord to appear. But the actual day of the feast is the day after Janmashtami, because Krishna doesn't appear until midnight. And of course you can have a little feast after midnight, but the traditional Vaishnava way of commemorating Krishna's appearance at midnight is just take a little break fast and the next day have a big feast. But in ISKCON we do it a little bit differently, because Prabhupada's appearance day is the next day. So we have to have both festivals on the same day, and also Janmashtami the night or the day before. All right, here we go. Dari Dugda Barasabe Nijaskande Kare Mahotsavastane Aila Bali Hari Hari. Having dressed up like cowherd boys, all the devotees carried pots of milk and yogurt balanced on rods over their shoulders. Thus they all arrived at the festival grounds chanting the holy name of Hari. Now you see how they would celebrate these different days, like Hero Panchami, which we read about in the previous chapter. That is the day which Lakshmi attacks the associates of Lord Jagannath at the Gundicha temple. During that festival, all of Lord Chaitanya's devotees dressed up either as the associates of Lord Jagannath, or as the associates of Lakshmi, or as Lakshmi. So there were different plays, enactments put on during each and every one of these festival days. So it was a very exciting experience to be there for the festival. Of course, they recited Krishna Katha, but they physically exhibited the different pastimes. And you're going to hear about this right now. Kanani Gutiya Achena Nanda Veshadare Jagannatha Mahati Anachena Vrajeshwari. Kanhani Kutiya dressed himself like Nanda Maharaj, and Jagannath Mahiti dressed himself as Mother Yashoda. So the men are actually playing women's parts too. Apane, and that's to avoid men and women mixing too intimately, because sometimes, well, not only sometimes, I think in many cases, or most cases, where you have theatrical people and they're men and women in the same play, there is some improper mixing that goes on. Why does it go on? Prabhupada said, okay, this is Prabhupada. Prabhupada said men are like butter. Ladies are like fire. So you put them together and you get melted butter, or you get ghee, one of the two things. So one has to understand there's certain combinations that occur. Just like you put hydrogen and oxygen together, you can get an explosion. Of course, you get water after that. But in the meantime, you may get a big explosion. Chemically, things work like that. When I was going to the university, we studied different chemical combinations, and we were taught not to combine certain chemicals or else you get a big explosion. So in the same way, if there's too much mixing between men and women, you get Maya, or illusion. It's just part of this material world. I have not invented it. Krishna invented it like that. Why does it like that? Because the mixing, or the male figures and the female figures in this world, are reflections of Krishna and Radharani in the spiritual world. So, being reflections, they reflect or act in a way that's, let us say, contrary spiritually, but not contrary externally. So, but the consciousness is completely different than that which occurs in the spiritual realm. Interesting point. Apane prataparujara mishvakashi sarvamara padicha patar tulasi. At that time, King Prataparudra was also personally present with Kashi Mishra, Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, and Tulasi Padichapatra. Inha Sabalana Prabhukari Richa Giranga Dadi Dugna Haridrajale Bari Sabarahanga. As usual, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu danced jubilantly. Everyone was covered with milk, yogurt, and yellow turmeric water. Just like, try to picture that festival. They're dressed up as coward boys, Yashodamai, different coward ladies, and they're all throwing, to celebrate Krishna's appearance, they're all throwing milk and yogurt and turmeric water on each other. And this is how they celebrate different festive occasions. It's almost like Holi, but not quite as wild as Holi. Holi is very interesting. There's this thing called Latmar Holi, which some of you may be familiar with. And in this particular Holi, the ladies take sticks and they beat the men. Oh my God. And so I had personal experience of that because I went to Vrindavan, and I didn't know it was Latmar Holi. And I got out of the car and I got beaten up. It was very interesting, and all sorts of colors all over me. So Dvaita Kahi Sachakahi Na Kariha Kopa Lagura Pirai Te Para Tabe Jani Gopa. At that time, or this time, Srila Dvaitacharya said, "Please do not be angry. I speak the truth. I shall know that you are a coward boy only if you can wheel this rod about." This is interesting. Tabi Lagura Nana Prabhu Piraite Lagila Barabara Kashipeli Lupia Dadila. Accepting Advaitacharya's challenge, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu took a big rod and began to wheel it around and around. Again and again, he threw the rod into the sky and caught it when it fell. Wow. Shurei Raupara Prishte Samukhe Dvipase Padamaje Paraya Lagura Deki Loka Hase. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu wheeled and threw the rod, sometimes over his head, sometimes behind his back, sometimes in front of him, sometimes to his side, and sometimes between his legs. All the people laughed to see this. Alata Chakrara Praya Lagura Puraya Deki Sarva Lokachite Chamatkarapaya. When Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu whirled the rod in a circle like a firebrand, the heart of everyone who saw it was astonished. Wow. E Mata Nityananda Piraya Laguta Ke Bushi Betana Dunhara Gopa Baba Guda. Nityananda Prabhu also played at whirling the rod. Who can understand how they were ecstatically immersed in the deep emotions of the coward boys? Prataparudra Gyaya Paticha Tulasi Jagannatera Prasada Vastra Ekalana Asi. Following the orders of Maharaj Prataparudra, the temple superintendent named Tulasi brought one of Lord Jagannath's used cloths. Bahumulya Vastra Prabhu Mastaki Bandila Ascharya Prabhura Ganera Puraila. This valuable cloth was wrapped around the head of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. The other devotees headed by Advaitacharya also had cloths wrapped around their heads. Kanani Kutiya Jagannatha Twijana Avesha Vilayala Kare Chila Yatadana. In ecstasy, Kanani Kutiya, who was dressed as Nanda Maharaj, and Jagannatha Mahiti, who was dressed as Mother Yashoda, distributed all the riches they had stocked at home. Deki Mahaprabhu Bada Santosha Paila Matapita Gyane Dunhe Namaskaraj Kaila. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was greatly satisfied to see this. Accepting them as his father and mother, he offered them obeisances. Wow. Paramaveshi Prabhu Aila Nijagara E mata lila kare Gauranga Sundara. In great ecstasy, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu returned to his residence. In this way, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, known as Gauranga Sundara, that means the beautiful or attractive golden one, golden limbed one, performed various pastimes. Vijaya Dashami, Lanka Vijayera Dine, Vanarasayana Kaila Prabhu Lana Bhakta Gane. Of course, this is Vijaya Dashami, which is the victory over Ravana that's being described here. And the devotees dressed as monkeys. On the day celebrating the conquest of Lanka, a day known as Vijaya Dashami, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu dressed up all his devotees as monkey soldiers. Hanuman Aveshe Prabhu. See how they celebrated? Wow. I wish we could do that in our ISKCON temples. Just like, do a theatrical performance and just be spontaneous in doing this theatrical performance. I think we should do that next Vijaya Dashami. Hanuman Aveshe Prabhu Viksha Shaka Halana Lanka Gade Chade Pele Gada Bangiha. Displaying the emotions of Hanuman, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu took up a large tree branch and, mounting the walls of the Lanka fort, began to dismantle it. Kahanre Ratna Prabhu Kai Krodadaveshe Jaganmata Haripapi Marimu Savamshe. In the ecstasy of Hanuman, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu angrily said, "Where's that rascal Ravan? He has kidnapped the universal mother Sita. Now I shall kill him and all of his family." Goshanira Veshadeki Loke Chamatkara Sarvaloka Jaya Jaya Bale Bhara Bhara. Everyone became very much astonished to see the emotional ecstasy of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and everyone began to chant all glories again and again. Also, this is important to understand. The Gaudiya Vaishnavas appreciate all the Lord's incarnations, and we celebrate all the Lord's incarnations because we understand it's Krishna, Kesavadrita, Narahari Rupa. Kesavadrita, in this particular case, Rama Sharira. That Kesava, Krishna, has actually taken the form of Ram. He hasn't changed his body. We change bodies. But he has manifested his very self-same spiritual body, which is non-different from himself, as Lord Ram, who is non-different than Lord Krishna, than Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, than Advaita Acharya, and all the various Vishnu Tattva incarnations of the Lord. E Mata Rasa Yatra Aradipavali Uttana Dwarashi Yatra Dekila Sakali. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and his devotees participated in all the festivals, including the Rasa Yatra, Deepavali, that's Diwali, and the Uttana Dwarashi. The Deepavali festival takes place on the dark moon night in the month of Kartika, October, November. The Rasa Yatra, or Rasa dance of Krishna, takes place on the full moon night of the same month. Uttana Dwarashi takes place the day after Ekadasi in the waxing fortnight of the moon of the same month. All the devotees of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu participated in all these festivals. Wow. It's like Prabhupada said, every week we could have a festival. He instructed Vishnu Jan Maharaj in that every week we should have like plays and festivals and all sorts of amazing things going on. It shouldn't just be a boring class. It should be the devotees participating in some really amazing interactions between each other, emulating or dramaticizing the Lord's pastimes. Ekadina Mahaprabhu Nichanande Lana Dvivayukti Kaila Nibrite Vasya. One day the two brothers, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and Nityananda Prabhu, consulted with each other while sitting together in a solitary place. Kiva Yukti Kaila Dunhe Kayanahi Jane Palayanumara Pache Kaila Bhaktagane. No one could understand what the brothers discussed between themselves, but later all the devotees could guess what the subject matter was. Tabi Mahaprabhu Sava Bhakti Bolaila Godadesha Yahasabe Vidaya Karila. Thereafter, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu called for all the devotees and asked them to return to Bengal. In this way, he bade farewell to them. In other words, the devotees spend 4 months every year with Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, enjoying these amazing remembrances and pastimes of the Lord and enacting them. What a wonderful life Krishna consciousness is. Sabare kahila Prabhu prajabda siya gunicha dekiya yabe amare miliya. Bidding farewell to all the devotees, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu requested them to return to Jagannath Puri every year to see him, and then see the cleansing of the Gundicha temples. So every year they would come. Acharyare Anga Dila Kariya Samana Achandala Hari Krishna Bhakti Diodana. With great respect, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu requested Advaita Acharya give Krishna consciousness devotion to Krishna, even to the lowest of men, Chandalas. This is Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's order to all of his devotees. Krishna Bhakti, devotion to Krishna, is open to everyone, even low-class men like Chandalas. One should follow this order in the disciplic succession stemming from Sri Chaitanya and Nityananda Prabhu and distribute Krishna consciousness without discrimination throughout the world. There are different kinds of men, beginning with the Brahmana and going down to the lowest platform known as Chandala. One thing I should mention, this Brahman, Chandala, Vaishya, Kshatriya, etc., like that, Shudra, they're known by qualities, not by birth. Remember that. Like Haridas Thakur was the best of Brahmins. Therefore, he was respected as such by Advaita Acharya when Advaita Acharya performed the Shrad ceremony, or Shraddha ceremony, depending whether you pronounce it in Hindi or Sanskrit. Whatever one's position, everyone in this age of Kali needs to be enlightened in Krishna consciousness. That is the greatest need of the day. Everyone is acutely feeling the pangs of material existence, even in the ranks and files of the American Senate. Oh my God, don't mention them. The pinpricks of material existence are felt so much so that on April 30th, 1974 is actually set aside as prayer day. Thus everyone is feeling the resultant pinpricks of Kali Yuga brought about by human societies indulging in illicit sex, meat-eating, gambling, and intoxication. Now is the time for the members of the International Society for Krishna Consciousness to distribute Krishna Bhakti all over the world and thus follow the orders of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. The Lord has ordered everyone to become a guru. Caitanya Caritamrta Madhya Lila 7:128 Amare Gaya Guru Hoyatara Edesh. Everyone in every town and village should be enlightened by the instructions of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Krishna consciousness should be distributed to everyone indiscriminately. That means you don't worry whether someone is of a particular nationality, or race, or gender, anything like that. In this way, the entire world will be peaceful and happy, and everyone will glorify Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu as he desires. The word Chandala actually refers to a dog-eater who was considered the lowest of men. Even Chandalas can be enlightened in Krishna consciousness due to Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's benedictions. Krishna Bhakti is not the monopoly of a certain caste. Everyone is eligible to receive this great benediction given by Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Everyone should be given a chance to receive it and be happy. Just 1 second. I have to check on one thing in the kitchen. Make sure it's not overcooking. Not yet. The word dana, meaning charity, is also significant in this verse. Whoever engages in the distribution of Krishna consciousness is a charitable person. Professional men recite Srimad Bhagavatam and discuss Krishna Bhakti for an exchange of money. They cannot distribute such exalted transcendental property to everyone and anyone. Only pure devotees who have no motive other than serving Krishna can give such transcendently valuable benedictions of charity. Hold on a second, I got a little message from my computer. No, it was all right. Okay, let's continue. This is amazing section of the Srimad Bhagavad of the Caitanya Charitamrta. Amazing, so enlivening. Nityanande Hagyadila Yahagoda Deshe Anargala Prema Bhakti Kariha Prakashe. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu ordered Nityananda Prabhu, go to Bengal and without restriction manifest devotional service to the Lord, Krishna consciousness. Wow. So Lord Chaitanya actually wanted Lord Nityananda to remain in Bengal and not come every year, because he wanted Lord Nityananda to distribute Krishna consciousness, as Prabhupada explains in the purport. So sometimes we have to make a sacrifice and not spend all the time in the holy dham. Just go out and mix with people, deliver people. That is our mission. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu thus ordered Nityananda Prabhu to deliver all the Bengalis to devotional service. In the Bhagavad Gita 9:32, the Lord says, Mami Partha Vipashrutya Yepishu Papayoneyaha Sriho Vaishastata Shudrast Tepiyanti Param Gatim. O son of Pratha, those who take shelter in me, though they be of lower birth, women, Vaishyas, merchants, and shooters, workers, can attain the supreme destination. Whoever takes the Krishna consciousness and follows the regulative principles can go back home, back to Godhead. In his Anubhasha, Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur writes, there is a class of so-called devotees, called Prakrita Sahajas, who think that Nityananda Prabhu is an ordinary human being. They have spread the news that Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu ordered Nityananda Prabhu to return to Bengal from Orissa just to marry and beget children. This is certainly a great offense against Lord Nityananda. Such an offense is called Pashanda Buddhi. That means the intelligence of an atheist, or an atheistic remark. Offenders consider Nityananda Prabhu to be like one of them, an ordinary human being. They do not know of Nityananda Prabhu's identity with the Vishnu Tattva. He's Balaram. Thinking Nityananda Prabhu to be an ordinary human being is the business of mental speculators known as Kuna Padma Bodhis. These people who accept the material body, which is a bag of three material elements, Kunape, Tridadake, that means bile, mucus, and air, as themselves. They think that Nityananda Prabhu's body was simply material and that it was meant for sense gratification. Whoever thinks in this way is a candidate for the darkest regions of HELL. Those who hanker after women and money, who are self-interested, and have the mentality of merchants can certainly discover many things with their fertile brains and speak against the authorized, revealed scriptures. They also engage in some money-making business to cheat innocent people, and they try to support their business programs by making such offensive statements. Actually, Nityananda Prabhu, being the expansion of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, is the most munificent incarnation. No one should consider him an ordinary human being or an entity like the Prajapatis, who are ordered by Brahma to increase generations. Nityananda Prabhu should not be considered instrumental for sense gratification, although professional so-called preachers support this idea. Such statements are not found in any authorized revealed scriptures. Actually, there is no support for these statements made by Sahajas or other professional distributors of Krishna Bhakti. So, it's very important to understand the ontological position of Lord Nityananda. Balaram Hoyle Nitai. Lord Nityananda is Balaram. That's right. And so, as Lord Nityananda, he did get married. But who did he marry? Janavamata and Vasudha. So, and his son was also an incarnation, expansion of Lord Balaram. So, anyway, this is not ordinary. Even Krishna got married. Krishna got married to 16,108 girls. And someone may say, how is it possible to marry 16,108 ladies? And Prabhupada said, Krishna could marry 16 quadrillion, 16 quintillion, and it still wouldn't be enough. Because Krishna is unlimited. So we say Krishna only married 16,108 wives. Only. Ramadasa Gadadhara Adikata Jane Tamara Sahaya Lagi Dilu Tamara Sane. Nityananda Prabhu was given assistants like Ramadas, Gadadhar Das, and several others. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, I give them to you to assist you. Madhya Madhya Ami Tamara Nikate Ayava Alakshite Rahi Tamara Nricha Dekiva. I shall also go to see you at intervals, keeping myself invisible. I shall watch you dance. Of course, Nityananda did come back from Bengal every year, disobeying Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, but that was out of ecstasy, and that's Lord Nityananda. Srivasa Pandita Prabhu Karyalingana Kantedare Caitanya Mathura Vachana. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu then embraced Srivasa Pandit, and with his arm around his neck, he began to speak to him in sweet words. Whoops, it's becoming too ecstatic. I'm going fast. Tomaragahai kirtane amhi nitya nachiba tumideka prave arakeha na dekiba. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu requested Srivas Thakur perform congregational chanting daily, and be assured that I shall also dance in your presence. You will be able to see this dancing, but not others. Evastra matai kiriha esabavat prasada dandabatkari amara shamaya parada. Take this prasadam of Lord Jagannath on this cloth and deliver them to my mother Shachi Devi. After offering her obeisances, please request her to excuse my offenses. Of course, the offense Lord Chaitanya is thinking that he made was in taking sannyas and leaving her not alone. I mean, she had devotees taking care of her, of course. But still leaving her. It's very sad, because obviously Jagannath Mishra had passed away previously. Tanra seva chari ami kariyachi sannyasa dharma nahi kariyami nija dharma nasha. I've given up the service of my mother and accepted the sannyasa order. I should not have done this, for by so doing I have destroyed my religious principles. Tanra prema vashyami tanra seva dharma tahachari kariyachi yachi patulera karma. I am subordinate to the love of my mother, and it is my duty to serve her in return. Instead of doing so, I have accepted the renounced order. Certainly, this is the act of a madman. Wow. Patulera balakera mata nahi laya dosha e jani mata more nakaraya rusha. A mother is not offended by her mad son. Knowing this, my mother is not offended by me. Ki kaya sannyase mora prema nijadana ye kale sannyasa kailun chanahela mana. I had no business in accepting the renounced order and sacrificing my love for my mother, which is my real property. Actually, I was in a crazy state of mind when I accepted sannyasa. Of course, crazy means absorbed in Krishna prema. So, let me just check one thing here. I will be right back. Something on the stove. I don't want to have it burn. Sorry about that. Oh, right. Nilachilaya chon muni tanhara gyate majje majje asimu tanacharana de kite. I am staying here at Jagannath Puri, Nilachala, to comply with her orders, but at intervals I go to see her lotus feet. Nityaya deki muni tanhara charane spurti gyane teno taha Sachanahi mane. Indeed, I go there daily to see her lotus feet. She's able to feel my presence, although she does not believe it to be true. And of course, that's a prakata, apakrita. That means where you cannot see the Lord's presence, but He's there anyway, just like in Vrindavan right now. You can go to Vrindavan and you will not be able to see Krishna, but you will feel His presence if you're actually very sincere. Ekadina Salyana Vyanjana Panchasata Shakamocha Gandha Prishtak Patola Nimba Pata Lembu Lembuada Kandadadi Dugakanda Sara Shalagrame Samarpilena Vahupa Hara. One day my mother Sachi offered food to Shalagram Vishnu. She offered rice cooked from shalipattis, various kinds of vegetables, spinach, curry made of banana flowers, fried patola with nimba leaves, pieces of ginger with lemon, and also yogurt, milk, sugar candy, and many other foods. Prasadalana kole karena krandana nimayura priyamora e sabhavyanchana. Taking the food upon her lap, Mother was crying to think that all that food was very dear to her Nimai. Nimai, of course, is Lord Caitanya Mahaprabhu's name when he was a little boy before he took sannyas. Nimai Pandit. Namani nahi kahita ke kare bhojana mora dhyane ashru jale parila nayana. My mother was thinking, Nimai is not here. Who will accept all this food? As she meditated upon me in this way, her eyes filled with tears. Shigro Shighara Yayamuni Saba Karinu Bhakshana Shunya Patra Deki Ashru Kariyamarjana. While she was thus thinking and crying, I immediately went there with great haste and ate everything. Seeing the dish empty, she wiped her tears away. In other words, she was lamenting that her son, Lord Caitanya Mahaprabhu, Nimai Pandit, wasn't there. And she was holding the food on her lap, and she's thinking, this is his favorite. He would really like it. She was crying. And then she looked down and saw the food was gone. Because Lord Chaitanya ate it, but she got confused. Kayana Vyanjana Kaila Shunya Kena Pata Balagopala Kiba Kaila Sabha Bata. She then began to wonder who had eaten all that food. Why is the plate empty? She wondered, doubting that Balagopal had eaten it all. Kibamora Kataya Mani Ramahana Gila Kibakona Jantuasi Sakala Kyaila. She began to wonder whether there had actually been anything on the plate in the first place. Then again, she thought that some animal might have come and eaten anything, or everything. Kibami anapatre Brahmena badila etachinti pakapatra yanna dikila. She thought perhaps by mistake I did not put any food on the plate. So thinking, she went into the kitchen and saw the pots. Anavyanjana purna deki sakala bhajane dekiya samshaya haila kichu chamatkara mane. When she saw that all the pots were still filled with rice and vegetables, there was some doubt in her mind, and she was astonished. Ishane bolana puna stanale paila punarapi gopalake anasamarapila. Thus wondering, she called Ishan, the servant, and had the place cleaned again. She then offered another plate to Gopal. Amazing pastime. E matayabi kurena uttamarandana more kayo yaite kare ukantai urotana. Now, whenever she prepares some good cooked food and wants to feed it to me, she cries in great anxiety. Kandra premeyani amaya karaya bojane antare manaye shuka baye nahi mane. Being obliged by her love, I am brought there to eat. Mother knows all these things internally and feels happiness, but externally she does not accept them. So one thing that's very interesting is she's not saying any mantras or mudras or any deity worship procedure, but there's love. And Krishna actually says this in the Gita. Patram pushpam palam toyam yome bhakta prayachati. That I accept anything offered to me. Of course, certain things are offerable, certain things are not offerable. A leaf, a fruit, a water, with love and devotion. That's the point. All these mantras and mudras and procedures are all there to help us develop love and devotion. And if you do all these mantras, mudras, and procedures without love and devotion, it is not useful. Yes, Krishna doesn't accept things because you did the rituals. You're not a machine. You know, with machines, if you put everything in the right place, let's say if you have a car, you put the spark plug wires on the right spark plugs, and the distributor, whatever, whatever the car has, it'll work. If everything is done properly, it'll work. But in Krishna consciousness, if you do everything properly and you don't have love, it's not going to work. That's right, it's not going to work. E vijaya dashamite hailahiriti tanha ke puchiya tanra karaiha pratiti. Such an incident took place on the last Vijaya Dashami day. You can ask her about this incident and thus make her believe that I actually go there. In other words, Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu wants it explained to his mother that what she's experiencing is actually the presence of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is with her. Okay. Ete ka kayite Prabhu vivola haila lokavidaya karite Prabhu Dharaya Karitarila. While describing all this, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu became a little overwhelmed, but just to finish bidding farewell to the devotees, he remained patient. In other words, he had so much love for the devotees, so much love for his mother. You could say, well, he's in the mood of Radharani, he's loving Krishna, but when you love Krishna, you feel love for everything related with Krishna is everyone, which means everyone. Raghava Pandite Kahena Vachana Saratsa Tamara Shuddha Preme Amihaya Tumara Vasha. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu next spoke some relishable words to Raghava Pandit. He said, I'm obliged to you due to your pure love for me. Okay. In Hara Krishna Sevara Katashuna Saragana Jana Parama Pavitra Seva Ati Sarvotama. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu then informed everyone just here about the pure devotional service rendered to Krishna by Raghava Pandit. Indeed, Raghava Pandit's service is supremely pure and highly accomplished. Araduravya Rahu Shunavanarike Lera Kata Panchaganda Karinari Kela Bikaya Tata. Apart from other commodities, just hear about his offering of coconuts. And actually, maybe a coconut is sold at the rate of 5 gandas each. So, let us stop here, because I want to hear about this story tomorrow. This is one of these most amazing stories. So today we did 18 to, wow, we covered a lot. 18 to 70 in the 15th chapter of Caitanya Caritamrta. So now we can unmute, which is all you've been waiting for, or allow you to unmute yourselves and allow you to ask questions either by going to the chat window. Either going to the chat window or writing down your question. Okay, please accept my humble obeisances. Here's the question. Oh, glory to the How can devotees show mercy on lowest of mankind who don't accept prasadam and books and don't even want to hear Sankirtan? Woo! Give them some prasadam. You say, give them some prasadam they can relate to. Give them a cookie or some sweet. Sometimes, this is actually very interesting, sometimes the devotees think that only Indian preparations are prasadam. So they want to give people a gulab jamun, especially in dealing in the Western world. If you're in Fiji, everybody knows a gulab jamun, everyone knows rasgul. Everyone knows jalebis, and they like jalebis. So, but if you're in a Western country, which Dhanurdas is, then you actually have to approach people with some sort of prasadam that they can relate to. That's why Prabhupada had us distribute cookies. Everybody can relate to cookies. I remember sometimes the devotees would go out in Sankirtan and distribute glub jamuns with dripping with sugar water, and they give someone on Sankirtan a glub jamun, and they go, "Ooh, what's this?" And they get glub jamun juice all over themselves, and they weren't so happy about that. So basically, everyone at some point or other can take some prasadam, can at least hear the holy name. You can just say, chant Gauranga. If you can't get them to say Hare Krishna, you can get them to say Gauranga. It's like one of my disciples in the UK. She goes around, her name is Manoharini Radha. Manoharini Radha. She goes around and gets people to say the magic word Gauranga, and they don't even know what it is. But by chanting Gauranga, they make spiritual advancement. So here's another question. Hare Krishna Guru Dev. Please send my humble obeisances. Did Gadadhar Pandit also leave for Bengal? No. Gadadhar Pandit stayed in Jagannath Puri. But Gadadhar Das went to Bengal. Gadadhar Das is different, but Gadadhar Pandit Goswami stayed in Jagannath Puri. He had taken a vow, which we'll read about later on in the Caitanya Caritamrta. He had taken a vow of Kshetra Sannyas. Kshetra Sannyas is the sannyas whereby one stays in a holy place and worships the Supreme Personality of God and doesn't leave that holy place and takes the vow to worship the Lord in a specific form. So Gadadhar Pandit Goswami was worshipping the Tota Gopinath deity in Jagannath Puri. He's a beautiful deity, and that's the deity that actually sat down to allow him to do the puja, the deity worship, because Gadadhar Pandit Goswami, he was getting very old and he couldn't stand up to address the deity, and the deity was quite high, and so Krishna just sat down, and that was the same deity that Lord Caitanya Mahaprabhu entered when he left this world, and then the same deity that Gadadhar Pandit Goswami entered when he left this world. So it's different from Gadadhar Das. So Gadadhar Das is an incarnation of, it's considered a manifestation of Srimati Radharani's effulgence. Gadadhar Pandit Goswami is considered an appearance of Srimati Radharani. So here's another question. Hare Krishna Gurudev. If you preaching to someone, encouraging them to offer their foodstuffs preparations, they have to worship mostly demigods on their altar, is it okay to offer them the Guru Parampara photo? Yeah, why not? Or anything you can advise. Say they can continue worshiping the demigod, just put Krishna on a high level. Understand that demigods are actually servants of the Lord, as are the gurus in the Guru Parampara. Just teach them the right Siddhanta, but don't discourage them from worshiping the demigods, because in that way you're challenging their culture. So you have to be culturally sensitive to people, because they've been brought up their whole lives worshiping the demigods and into the demigod puja and everything like that. So just all right. So say, yes, worship the demigods, but the demigods really want to eat Krishna Prasadam, just like in Jagannath Puri. In Jagannath Puri, they take Jagannath Prasad, and what do they do with it? They take and immediately bring it to Bhuvaneshwara. And Bhuvaneshwara is the place called Gupta Kashi. That means hidden Kashi. It's the place of Lord Shiva's abode, a hidden place, a hidden manifestation of Lord Shiva's abode. And so Lord Shiva enjoys prasadam, and he dances in ecstasy, just like in the Chaitanya Mangal. There's a description of Lord Shiva getting just a little speck of prasadam and dancing in complete ecstasy. So, give them what they want. Okay, here's another one. Atmanandini. When distributing prasadam, can the definition of prasadam be extended to non-eatables like a bouquet of flowers? Yeah. Stationery? Probably not stationery. Probably not pottery. Oh, how can you offer stationery to Krishna? Does he actually write? I think Krishna uses a computer. I don't think Krishna uses a pen and paper. So you can offer a computer to people, computer prasad. No, I mean, I think you have to be a little funny about things like this. Pottery, no, I don't think so. I think if you have parts of Krishna's paraphernalia like Krishna's earrings, and if you give them to a lady and she wears Krishna's earrings after Krishna has worn them, then certainly there's some spiritual advancement. Pottery, I have some question about. Uh, Stationery, how would you offer stationery to Krishna? I just can't figure that one out. I guess it's the modern world. You just put a pen. Oh, like if I have to donate stationery to school, I offer the material before giving. Say, Krishna, please accept this stationery and write some notes. And Krishna will write a note. My dear devotee, I love you very much. Thank you for the stationery. Uh, I mean, it's hard to say. I never heard of offering stationery to the deities. I never heard about that. Maybe you should put some, offer the, here's an idea. You offer some scent, like some oil to the deities, and you put a few drops of that on the stationery. How's that a good idea? So when they smell the stationery, they're smelling what has been offered to the deities. Hey, that's a great idea. So that way, yeah. So they say, oh, this nice smell, the sandalwood stationery. Otherwise, I don't know. Offer stationery. Stationery. I mean, we could try offering a lot of things to Krishna again. Let's see what else. What else we can offer?
Hare Krishna,
Anyway,
Gurudev. Please
Hare
accept
Krishna.
my humble obeisances. All grace to Srila Prabhupada. Srila
Hare Krishna.
Gurudev, before giving the stationery out, we can write Hare Krishna on the top of the book or something. Just,
Yes.
yeah.
Oh yeah, yeah, definitely. Then it actually has some spiritual benefit.
Yes.
Right, Hare Krishna. Put some. I think some deity scent. Some sort of scented oil that you've offered to the deities. You just put on the stationery, and then when they smell it, they'll actually be smelling the deity offering.
Yes, Gurudev, that's a great idea.
Yeah, that's even a better idea.
Yes.
So, uh, Hare Krishna Gurudev, what do you offer to Krishna? I offer to Krishna my mind, my body, and my words. And also, I mean, you're right, asking about food I offer to Krishna. Um, I offer to Krishna things that are so simple, generally, that you would not eat them. You would think, if I tell you what I offer to Krishna, you'll never want to take sannyas. So, my favorite place in Vrindavan is Govardhan. Next question. Do we change body in the spiritual world like male change and female? We have a spiritual form in the spiritual world, and it's either male or female, and we don't change back and forth, no. Although sometimes in Krishna's pastimes, the coward boys may dress as females for the sake of Krishna's pastimes, or they may dress, and the coward girls sometimes may dress as coward boys to associate with Krishna, like on Gopastami. But as far as, you're either male or female, uh, whatever is your nature in the spiritual world, you do that. Uh, if you really want to, I mean, let's say you're a cowboy, you really hanker to become a gopi, anything's possible. But uh, anyway, anything's possible in the spiritual world. Okay, good question. So, Kayur, you have a question.
Hare Krishna Gurudev, my humble obeisances to your lotus
Haribol,
feet.
Glorious Prabhupada.
Yeah. So, Gurudev, as we know that this material world is forwarded a reflection of spiritual world, right? And everything whatever is there in the material world, it has there into the spiritual form, right? The purest
Right.
form. So, what are the purest form for like things like sense gratification, anger, greed, or say attachment? So, what are the two purest form in the spiritual world for this kind of things?
In the spiritual world, there's no material anger, there's no material lust, there's no material greed. Everybody's trying to please Krishna. So they're all pure forms. There's no pure form. But as far as those with the most intense love for Krishna, those are the gopis. But there's no form that's impure, so you can't say it's a purer form. You know, if you use a comparison, this is a purer form than that form in the spiritual world. They're all pure. Pure means without any inebrities, without any contamination. So none of the forms or none of the entities in the spiritual world have any contamination. But the intensity of the love varies from, let's see, you begin with the Shanta Rasa and all the way up to the Madhurya Rasa and all the way up to Srimati Radharani's Mahabhav. Then you're in increasing intensity. But there's no question of impurity. There's no question of lust, there's no question of greed, there's no question of envy, there's no question of any of these material.
So they don't exist in spiritual world, right?
There's no existing material lust. Now there's love of Krishna, which is not material lust, because the love of Krishna is the intense desire. Sometimes it may be described as lust, but it's the intense desire of loyum to please the senses of Krishna. And if there is some competition in the spiritual world, it's not envy, it's loving competition. It's not that one is envious of the other. There's no question of envy in the spiritual world. So, but life in the spiritual world is a different quality than we have in this world. In this world, there's envy, lust. We try to control other people, try to make other people our servants. It's like that. We're just looking at other people as instruments for our gratification. In the spiritual world, we look at ourselves as instruments for the gratification of Krishna and for the service of other entities. But there's no question of self-centeredness in the spiritual world. There's self-consciousness. You're conscious of yourself, of who you are, but no self-centeredness in the spiritual world.
So,
All right.
how good? Oh, sorry.
Yeah, go ahead.
So how can we remove all these things from the material, like from our whatever we have, like all these anathans? So what should
We'll chant Hare Krishna with great devotion, serve the Vaishnavas, of course, follow the four regulative principles, and serve Prabhupada's mission. Then gradually all these things will be purified. It's like boiling the milk, Boiling the milk means make it thicker, like that. So we boil the spiritual milk in Krishna consciousness. All right? And let me...
Thank you so much.
Okay, we have a question from Praneshwara.
Yes, Gurudev.
Yeah.
Like Sachi Mata have a spontaneous love for Chaitanya Mahaprabhu.
Yes.
But we have to force everything to get up early, do japa. How it become a spontaneous for us?
That's a good question. Has it become spontaneous?
Yes.
There are a few hints. One is that we think of our goal in Krishna consciousness, just like you're a businessman, and if there's some big deal to be made, you spontaneously, enthusiastically go and wake up, right? Let's say if tomorrow morning you had a meeting with Birla. You know Birla?
Yes.
Ambani, or Mr. Ambani. That's even better, right? And Mr. Ambani had some really network problems, and he wanted to hire you to help his network problems, right? And he said, you have to be here at 8 o'clock. If you have to be here at 5 o'clock in the morning, would you get up?
Yes.
you get up at 1 o'clock in the morning and be waiting for him because you have some sankalpa or desire or goal. So think about that. Krishna is better than Ambani. Krishna is better than any of these other rich people. Or if Mr. Modi wanted to see you, you'd be on time. So the way I look at it is that Krishna wants to see me early in the morning, and so I have an appointment with Krishna, so then I spontaneously get up. It's nice, isn't it? You think like that, and then you spontaneously get up. That's the secret. And one more question from Radha Padma, who looks like Nalini Kant.
Thank you, Gurudev. Hare Krishna, Gurudev, please accept my respectful
Haribol.
obeisance. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Gurudev, is there any mention of any pastimes of Sachi Mata and Mother Vishnu Priya after, when we visit deities of Mother Vishnu Priya at different place, and then Mother Sachi was living at different place, so they had any association after Chaitanya Mahaprabhu took sannyas? And
Oh, they were together. They were together, and they were worshiping Lord Chaitanya together. And Vishnu Priya was actually worshiping a deity. There's some pastimes where great devotees, like Srinivasacharya, went to get the benedictions. Or Sachi Mata wasn't there at that time; she had passed away. But from Vishnu Priya, and Vishnu Priya put her feet on the head of Srinivasacharya to benedict him. So there are some pastimes in various literatures. Particularly, I think if you read the Bhakti Ratnakara, there's a little bit of information in that particular book by Narahari Chakravarti.
okay.
Okay, so we have to end now. It's time. Time waits for no one. Good to see you. All glories to His Divine Grace, Srila Prabhupada ki Jai. Go Premananda.